Om Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidyam Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. So in the last class, we studied the 19th Sutra, where we found that the Narada is defining bhakti as Narada tu tat arpita akhila acharata tat vishmarane param vyakulata iti. So that's the definition of bhakti which we found, which Narada is enumerating in the Bhagavatam. So today we will start with the next sutra, the Sutra 20. What it says, Asti evam evam. That there are examples of such forms of devotion. That after saying that tat arpita akhila acharata, that whatever actions you perform as an offering to the divine, and that way you are always aware of the presence of the divine in your life. Tat vismarane param vyakulata iti. And if there is a forgetfulness, even for a small moment, even for a moment, you find tremendous anguish, tremendous suffering, tremendous pain. So that's the definition which Narada has enumerated. Now he is saying Asti evam evam, that there are examples of such forms of devotion. Throughout the history of our spiritual evolution, we will find there are many such examples. Narada, the gopis, Narada himself is an example of this highest form of devotion. In the Bhagavatam, we find the gopis, they also exemplify this type of devotion. In the Alvars, the South Indian Vaishnava tradition, there we find the same type of devotion. And then during the Bhakti movement, there are so many saints, seers like Mirabai, Tukaram, Tulsidas, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Ramakrishna in the present day. They all exemplify this form of devotion. So, why he's saying this? What's the importance of this sutra? That this sutra speaks of the validity of the scriptures. The spiritual realizations are universal in nature. If they were merely unique to a particular individual, they would remain personal peculiarities, incapable of inspiring others. So this is very important. We will find that sometimes we say that our prophet, what he has attained, that cannot be attained by anyone else. We just have to have faith in the prophet. In Vedanta, this type of idea is never nurtured. That what if the realization has been attained by someone, it has to be, there should be the potentiality of going to the same realization by anyone. Otherwise, that realization means nothing to me. That it is something peculiar for that person. That his constituency is the way he is constituted. His mind is constituted. That he attains that state. But if I cannot attain it, then in what way that realization has any implication in my life? It's a peculiar thing. To give an example, Swami Vivekananda in the Complete Works is giving a very nice example. that if I alone have 6 fingers, it would be considered as an abnormality. It is not a model to be emulated. All the peoples have 5 fingers. Suddenly have 6 fingers. So that's a peculiarity. That has nothing to speak of some special attainment. It's a peculiarity. It's an aberration. Another very nice example is this, the patenting of the medicine. So the medicine, when some medicine are researched, so there are some drugs are researched, if they find that the drug is working on all the case studies. So if there are 100 case studies, and we find about in 90%, 99% case studies give positive results, then only that the drug can be patented. If only 1 or 2 persons get cured by the drug, and the rest, it doesn't act on rest of others, it doesn't have any effect on the others, that drug can never be patented. To patent a drug, it has to have this positive result for most of the cases. So similarly in spirituality, if a person goes to certain type of realization, to certain state of attainment, and if I say it cannot be attained by others, it has no implication in our life. So it can only inspire us if the potentiality to attain the same state is also within me. So in the same way, that's why we say that without validation through the lives of the illumined souls, the scripture would be like an almanac, as Sri Ramakrishna says, that predicts torrential rain, but yields not a single drop when squeezed. When Sri Ramakrishna one day asked Narendranath to bring the almanac which was on the rack in Sri Ramakrishna's room, he brought it and he asked, just read out the forecast. The forecast was that there was going to be profuse rain in that rainy season that year. Now Sri Ramakrishna says, squeeze the almanac. Naren was surprised. Why is he asking? So when Naren, as he was insisted, he squeezed the almanac, and then Sri Ramakrishna asked, just why? Not even a single drop of water is coming out of it. So he then said that this almanac forecasts that there is going to be torrential rain. But if you squeeze it, not a single drop comes out of it. What he meant, that unless even this water comes out of it, it is just a mere book. It is just a mere dry book. So the scriptures has no meaning unless it gets enlivened through the lives of the saints and sages. So that's why after defining, Narada is substantiating this sutra by saying there are many such examples, that many who have endeavored in this path have attained to that state where God has become that constant presence in their life. In all their activities, they are aware of the presence of the divine, and after all the activities, they offer the results of the actions to the divine. They have resigned themselves totally to the will of the divine, and if they forget the divine for even a moment, they find that there is a tremendous anguish, just like a person without oxygen, or if a thirsty person is without water, the way he feels, the same way this person's feel, that if there is a little forgetfulness of the divine. So on these lines we will find there is a wonderful quotation of Swami Vivekananda in the Complete Works. It's in the chapter Practical Vedanta Part 1. It's in the second volume, Jnana Yoga. So there, very interesting thing is saying, feel like Christ and you will be Christ. Feel like Buddha and you will be Buddha. It is the feeling that is life, the strength, the vitality, without which no amount of intellectual activity can reach God. So it is just not mere conceptualization. You have to feel the way Jesus has felt. You have to feel the way Buddha has felt. And then he's saying a wonderful thing. What is the proof of the Christs and Buddhas of the world? That you and I feel like them. That is how you and I understand that they were true. So unless I have that same type of aspiration, when I read the life of any spiritually illumined soul, what happens? Something within me acknowledges, yeah, that's the thing I want. I haven't yet attained it, but the tremendous aspiration to attain that state is there. What it speaks? It speaks that you have that idea, that feeling, that that's the state which is ideal, which everyone should attain. So this is the feeling. So unless you have that, just simply intellectually conceptualizing it, that has nothing to do in our, as per our spiritual life is concerned, it has nothing to do. It may be of some academic interest. It can be the part of the curriculum, but it in no way can transform our life. And then what Swamiji is saying is very, very, what you say, that direct and profound. That our prophet soul is the proof of their prophet soul. Our prophet soul. That though I haven't manifested the divinity, but my soul, in my soul also that potentiality to be a prophet is there. So that's why Swamiji is saying your prophet soul is the proof of their prophet soul. In them, that soul has manifested all its potentialities. So as I am yearning for it, I can relate to it. So this is the proof of their prophet soul. So that's the wonderful thing which Swamiji is saying. So here in Vedanta we find this tremendous assertion that everyone has the same potentiality and everyone can realize, manifest that potentiality to attain that highest spiritual ideal. So that's what is being indicated by saying asti evam evam. That there are examples of such forms of devotion. It is not something just for mere academic purpose. It is not just something which has been attained by just a few. Throughout the history of the gamut of spiritual history, we will find that many such who have endeavored in this path have attained to that state. And then the next sutra, the 21st, is giving an example. What it is saying? Yatha vraja gopikanam. This just like the best example is as found in the lives of the gopis of Vraja, of Vrindavan. So we have seen that we have quoted in the Vishnu Purana that these gopis, they attained that state. What was the state? That they used to have the tremendous ecstasy by remembering the Lord in each and every activity of their life, in each and every state of their life. And if they forgot, even for a moment, there was an intense suffering. And that helped them to go beyond both the papa and the punya, the merits as well as the demerits. The merits which they have accrued by their good actions, and all the demerits which they have accrued by all their evil deeds. Everything gets exhausted. Good, bad, everything gets exhausted. They transcend the polarity of good and bad. And how nicely in the Vishnu Purana a verse describes that state. What it is said? Tat chinta vipula allad kshina punya chaya tatha tat apraptim ahadukha vilina ashesha pataka. Tat chinta vipula allada. By thinking of you, hey, this Lord, the gopis used to get very intense form of ecstasy, allada. And with that kshina punya chaya, that all the merits which they have accrued by their good acts, that is to get exhausted. What it means? That whatever merits which have accrued by our good acts, we will be exhausting them by attaining some state after death, or maybe even in this life, where I can enjoy the results of the good actions which I have done. Now here, by thinking of the Lord, the tremendous happiness, the tremendous ecstasy which the gopis get, nothing in this world can be compared to that type of bliss, the highest form of bliss. So this bliss naturally exhausts all the merits of the good actions which they have done. Very nicely they are describing. And when they forget the Lord, immediately the tremendous anguish, that extreme anguish, which cannot be compared with any suffering in life. For them, God has become their breath. It is suffocating. Without the thought, to forget Him is just as suffocating as just for a person without ear. So that tremendous anguish, that is so, it brings such a misery that the results of all the evil actions, they were supposed to suffer for that. Now what suffering can be more intense than this suffering which comes from forgetfulness of the divine? So that's why they are saying this suffering exhausts the results of all their evil actions. And that's how they go beyond all karma, to be freed from all the karmas, to attain a state where they are in the eternal communion with the divine, eternal companionship with the divine. They don't have to go through the process of this transmigration anymore. It is the results of our good and bad actions that forces us to be born in this physical plane of existence. As those results have got exhausted, they need not be born on this physical plane again. They can eternally be in communion with the divine in the higher planes of existence. So that's the idea which has been spoken of in the Vishnu Purana in this form. That tat chinta vipula allada kshina punya chaya tatha tat apraptim ahadukha. When you cannot attain Him, sometimes you are forgetful, apraptim. The suffering which you get, vilina ashesha pataka. All the evil results of the evil actions which one have done in their life, that gets exhausted by that. So that's why there's been mentioned that gopis exemplify the highest form of the devotion that Narada has enumerated. So even if one does not, that's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say a very interesting thing, the love of the divine, love for Krishna, the gopis' love for Krishna. He used to say that even if you don't believe in Radha Krishna, the Radha is the foremost among all the gopis. So if you don't believe in Radha Krishna, okay, that's fine. But the tremendous yearning of Radha for Krishna, as has been described in the scripture, why not try to have that type of yearning? So Radha Krishna mano or na mano, we turn to kulao. That even if one does not believe in Radha Krishna, one should recognize and feel the inner yearning or divine attraction that draws them together. Because that's the thing which speaks of the highest form of devotion. And then Sri Ramakrishna used to say, what's the result of that type of devotion? Very nicely he used to say, that what is to, in the words of Ramakrishna, even in the gospel we will find, that as the tiger devours other animals, it is the predator which devours all other animals, so does the tiger of intense love. That Sri Ramakrishna is comparing this para-bhakti with a tiger. Why? Because it eats up lust, anger and other passions. So this tiger, the tiger called para-bhakti, just like the way the tiger devours all other animals, it is the ultimate predator. So here also bhakti is the ultimate predator. Shararipu, all the six passions, which is the cause of our bondage. This kama, krodha, lobha, mada, moha, matsarya. So all this kama means the desire to enjoy. When there is an obstruction, the krodha comes, kama krodha. And then logha, if there is no obstruction, then I develop greed, that I forget the necessity. I just go on having it more and more. It makes me obsessed. That speaks of lobha. And then moha. I become deluded. I forget that the necessity and I get obsessed. That speaks of the moha. And then mada, matsarya. Mada speaks of what? That when I have accrued lot of wealth, I have accrued lot of sensate pleasures, that makes me feel extremely proud, vain. And then matsarya is envy. If I find someone is having more wealth than me, more sensual enjoyment than me, I feel envious towards that. So all these 6 ripus, the 6 passions, they are as if eaten up by that para-bhakti. So it's a very natural process. You need not have to fight against those enemies with your willpower. The more you develop devotion, they naturally fall off. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying. So the devotion of the gopis exemplify that. And then in the next sutra, the 22nd sutra, what it is saying? Tatra api na mahatmya jnana vismriti apavada. This is very important. So even in this type of devotion, where we find the gopis are having an intense love for Krishna, apparently it seems that it is some illicit love. Why? Because all the gopis were married. They had their families, they had their children, they had their husband. But they had so much love for the Krishna that they would ignore everything. Their family, their all family commitments, their responsibilities, and they will just go out from their home, forgetting all their responsibilities to meet Krishna. So this we find is mentioned in the Bhagavatam. So for a person who doesn't understand the true significance of it, it appears as like an illicit love. The love of a person for his paramour, like upapati. That's what the scriptures say. So, how to distinguish such a love, an illicit love, from this highest form of devotion? So here this sutra that gives that trait, the trait which speaks of the difference between an ordinary illicit love and this highest form of devotion. What is that? Tatra apina mahatma jnana vismriti. Even there, in this highest form of love, tatra api, there is no blame, this apavada of the forgetfulness, vismriti of what? Of the greatness of the object of love. Mahatma jnana. That the object of my love is not something just like any other ordinary being. That he is the great, he is the Lord. Somehow in the back of the mind, that idea is always lingering. You will see that in the Bhagavata sometimes they forget that Krishna is God. The gopis have so love for him. But then also, even if they're forgetful, but after all, Krishna is the God himself. Knowingly or unknowingly, if you are loving something which is the ultimate purifying factor, you are bound to get pure. There cannot be fall in such type of love. Generally we use the term falling in love, but devotion is actually rising in love. It's not falling in love. So in the 19th sutra we saw that what Narada tu tat arpita akhila acharata tat vismarane parama vyakulata. So that according to Narada, devotion is surrender of all activities to God and extreme anguish if he is forgotten. But generally this happens even in ordinary love. The one who is having an illicit relationship with someone must be is constantly busy with his household duties or her household duties. But the mind is always engaged in the thought of his lover, of his beloved, isn't it? Or her beloved. So there also this constant smarana is there, And there's a tremendous pain, anguish because of the separation when I cannot meet. So in what way this type of love can be spoken of as the highest devotion? So the present sutra elucidates that difference. What's the difference? That ordinary love is selfish and sensual. But in the divine love, the greatness of the object of love is never forgotten. So this is a very important thing. You will find very nicely it has been depicted in the Bhagavatam. In the Bhagavatam, Krishna, to test the devotion of the gopis, what he says, there is a very nice verse. He says, Aswargyam ayashasyam cha falgu krichrang bhayavaham jugupsitam cha sarvatra upapatyam kulastriya. So, O devoted wives, O kulastri, O kulastriya, the devoted wives, those who are bound by the family traditions, they follow. There's a kulastri, the wives of a particular reputed family descendant of the family tradition. So this is the kulastri. So you are the all devoted wives of kulastriya. To have relation with a paramour, upapatyam, to have a relationship with a paramour is a bar to heaven and stain to one's reputation. That jugupsitam cha sarvatra. It actually stains your reputation. It is something the society censors. And then it is worthless. It's of no use. It disintegrates the family. It disintegrates one's own life. So it is worthless. Falgun, cause of pain. You will find all sorts of pain comes from it. Anguish. That's what is indicated as krichrang. And at the same time it is bhayavaha. Bhayavaha means is dreadful. Because it will disintegrate the family. You will find that this is the thing which we see in our day-to-day life. And that's what Krishna is saying to them, to the gopis, to test them. And in reply, what the gopis are saying, it's very interesting. That those who say that gopis were not at all aware of the divinity of Krishna, so we will say that they have not studied the Bhagavatam properly between the lines. So in the Bhagavatam itself it is there. What the gopis reply say, Maivang vibho bhavan gaditung rishamsaha. Rishamsha. Santyajya sarva vishayan tava padamulam bhaktya bhajasva duravagraha mang tyaja asman devo yatha adi purusho bhajate mumukshum. Just the way devo yatha adi purusho bhajate mumukshum. So accept us as the Supreme Being accepts all who go to Him for liberation. So this is the idea. Accept us. It is not an ordinary love. Just the way the devotee goes for liberation to the Supreme Deity, the Supreme Being. Similarly, we are approaching you, seeing the greatness in you. So, O Lord of our hearts, Maivang Vibho, it doesn't befit you to speak so mercilessly. Bhavan Gaditum Rishangsha. You are as if merciless. Rishangsa. You are speaking so mercilessly. We have abandoned our all to serve your holy feet. Sanktajya sarva vishayan tava pada moolam. So just see, it's full of devotion. There is no sensuality in it. That it is just to serve your holy feet. We have relinquished everything. And that's why, please don't abandon us. Ma tyaja asman. Abandon us not, O thou of mysterious ways. So it's very difficult to understand you. So, duravagraha. It's very difficult to understand you. O the Lord, please don't abandon us. We have that same type of that love which a devotee has for the Lord. So that's just clearly indicated in the Bhagavatam. So this is the idea. So they were not forgetful of His divinity. It was there. But when what happens in love, that the greatness is become something secondary. The love becomes more overwhelming. It's not that the idea is not there. That the example which we give, sometimes we give, the judge of the court, he is such a powerful person as long as he is in the court. He comes back to his home after his job. His small child goes running to be in the lap of his father. For the son, his father is not the judge, that is a very powerful person, or the prime minister, or the president of the country, nothing. He is just the father to whom he relates with love. So is he not aware of the greatness? He is aware, but that is secondary. The love overwhelms there. So here also the same idea, that it is the love is overwhelming, but there in the back of the mind, the Mahatmya, they never forget, that is there. So these ideas we will find even that in our scriptures in many ways. It so happened, the same idea we find wonderfully depicted in one of the episode of Holy Mother's interaction with Josephine MacLeod, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. After the passing away of Swami Vivekananda, Josephine MacLeod came to India, stayed for quite a long time. She was in Belur Math, and she had a very frequent visit and conversation with Holy Mother. So on one such occasion, she came and just confessed to Holy Mother that nowadays I am not getting meditation. My mind gets distracted. Holy Mother said, by what your mind gets distracted? And Josephine MacLeod says, the moment I sit for meditation, after the passing away of Swami Vivekananda, I think of him so intensely that I find the moment I sit for meditation, his thought comes. And my meditation gets distracted. And immediately Holy Mother, what she replied was wonderful. Well, you are such a fortunate one. That a devotee, even by practicing hard meditation, in trying to have a very intense meditation, they try their best. They cannot visualize such a form. And for you, it is coming spontaneously. You are fortunate. Why should you think it is distracting? But only thing, when such form comes, don't forget the greatness. That he is not an ordinary being. He is one of the rishis among the Saptarshis. He has came from the Akhandir Ghar. He has came from that state, which is just as if the borderline between the absolute and the phenomenal existence. So he is a state, he actually speaks of a state which is very high as per the spiritual attainment is concerned. He has came from that state. So think of that greatness. And then this thought is quite okay. You do not have to get rid of it. So that Mahatma, this speaks of that meditation where you are not forgetful about the highest, the greatness of the object of meditation. So if this devotion, to understand this, we can just take some very common example that what actually is speaking of. So just say that in the stadium when the cricket match is going on and some batsman is batting who is a very, very accomplished batsman and the entire stadium is his fan. They love him. Why they love him? Is it some personal love? No. That his performance, his greatness is the cause of their love. Isn't it? So now you will find that the person is loved because of his greatness. If there is someone who has developed attachment as the person is concerned, he is not bothered about the game. So for him, that type of love cannot be called devotion. What's the devotion? The fans. Those who are relating to the greatness, not to the person as such, the physical person as such. So that speaks of real, this devotion. So why it has been spoken of? It speaks of something, the faculty of awe, the sense of awe. If the devotion is without that, it cannot be classified as devotion, as will be spoken of in the next sutra, the 23rd sutra. What it says? Tat vihinam jaranam iva. As we were saying, without that love, where the idea, where the awareness of the greatness of the object of love is not there, it would be just like that of Jaranam. Jarana means of paramour, upapati or upapatni, paramour. So as human beings, that what it is actually indicating? The divine love is actually what it speaks of, that we clearly perceive countless limitations in our life as a human being. That as a human being, we find that we have so many limitations. That all the desires, the sensual, our impulses, all this speaks of our limitations. Yet from the very depth of our being, we will find something is constantly saying us, echoing, that you can go beyond all limitations. There's so many things in our life, that we think of eternity, that though our life is bound, that by birth and death, and by constant change of the physical form, but we'll find something behind our mind is constantly echoing of eternity. Something is constantly speaking of a state where there is no desires, no want. So this echo is constantly there from the bottom of the heart. That's why in our scriptures say that as a human being, we can never think ourselves as a limited being. That they say that you are beyond all limitations. Something is within is always saying that you are beyond all limitations. You are free. That's why in the scriptures they say, who is a human being? The one who thinks of infinitude. Sa anantaya kalpate. He thinks of infinitude. So in truth, we are never able to think of ourselves as truly bound or finite of our essential nature. For we cannot think of ourselves as bound. Why? Because our essence, actually the core of our being, is infinite. That is constantly echoing through us. So that's why whenever we encounter greatness, we are filled with awe. We get awestruck, inspired. Why? And in that very moment, we project ourselves onto the ideal. And we seek, what we seek? To identify with that. I also want to be like that. This is the idea of that awe sensation. And this idea, the ideal thus becomes a channel through which we rise beyond our limitations. That ideal becomes a channel. I identify with that, and then I rise beyond all these limitations. So this is a very different type of love. So you will find that after all, even for just a cricket player, there also we want to identify. Why? That he represents certain thing which I am yet to accomplish. I find that I don't have those skills, and that makes me drawn towards that. But we will find that as a human being, what's the highest idea of greatness? It is the God. God is the highest ideal. We will find that the human mind can conceive. In the words of Swami Vivekananda, God is the highest reading of the Absolute. It is the highest reading of the Absolute. So through devotion, therefore, one seeks to surrender the petty, ego-centered self and become identified. They want to get identified with the boundless greatness, infinite greatness of the Lord, of Ishvara, of God, of the divine. So, thus we find that this type of love is very different from ordinary sensual love. So, devotion is a way to rise in love, not fall in love. So, if you remember the Mahatma, that helps you to rise in love. The faculty of awe, if not directed towards something higher, easily becomes entangled with something sensual, leading to fall in love. As we will find, where the Swami Vivekananda, that we have repeated so many times in our classes, that he was delivering lecture on Advaita Vedanta, that you are the ultimate self. You are beyond the body, beyond the mind, beyond the senses. You are the pure Atman. And then someone stood up and said, Swamiji, you are speaking of the self, but in practice, you are all idol worshippers. And then Swamiji were just very immediately retorts back, well, why? You two are also idol worshippers. And then Swamiji is challenged. He asks, how come? Just show up that we are idol worshippers. And Swamiji says a very interesting thing. Why? You, the young man, don't you kneel down in front of a young lady and say you're the angel? Isn't that an idol worship? Just see what happens, that our faculty of awe, that to get inspired by something much bigger than life. So that gets, at the time of puberty, it happens, that gets, we start, all will be fantasizing. The fantasy speaks of that what? You have some ideal of something very ethereal. And an ordinary being of flesh and bones, you impose that ideal on that. And that results in all our so-called worldly love. And we say why? We say we fall in love. Why? Because you have imposed all those ethereal qualities in someone who has a lot of limitations. So when you get bound in life and start living the life, then all the limitations that becomes more and more palpably felt. And then there is a shock, as if, oh, what I thought, it's not so. And then we feel that we have fallen in love. But if you love God, it is just the opposite. Even the idea of greatness which I have, I will find it is limited. The one whom I am love is even beyond all those concepts of greatness which I have. The limitations of my mind start falling off. I find he is much, much greater than even all the concepts of greatness which I have. That's why Swamiji used to say a very interesting thing, that I never try to describe, I would never try to write the life of Sri Ramakrishna. Why? Because in the process, Shiv korte banor gora hoye jabe. That if I try to describe the life of Ramakrishna with my limited mind, in my attempt to make the image of Shiva, I will make the image of a monkey. So what it speaks of, Shiv korte banor gora, that even my idea of greatness, that is also limited. So the Lord is even greater than that. So the more we relate to the Lord through love, the more and more the barricades of our mind fall off, and the more and more I get identified with the unbound greatness of the Lord by relating to the Lord through our awe faculty. And that speaks of rising in love, not falling in love. So that's why this remembering the Mahatma is very important. When that is there in the background of mind, then through the awe faculty, when you are relating to the divine, it speaks of transcendence. So that's been spoken of. We find where there's, the Swami Ashokananda. He is a very unique Swami in our order. He is the only Swami who never had the initiation, physical initiation. Before becoming a monk, he had in his vision, he had the initiation from Swami Vivekananda. And he thought it's a dream. And he went to Swami Brahmananda saying that in a dream such and such thing I have seen. But after it's a dream, I feel like getting initiated. Will you initiate me? Raja Maharaj said, no. Swami Vivekananda has already initiated you. Ashokananda was not satisfied. He thought most probably Swami Brahmananda is not willing to initiate him. He went to Mahapurush Maharaj, Swami Shivananda. At that time he was the vice president of the Ramakrishna order. After hearing from Ashokananda, what he has got in vision, that initiation in vision. Even Shivananda denied that. He said, no, there is no need for your initiation anymore. Swami Vivekananda has already initiated you. Much later, our third president, Swami Akhandanandaji. So he went for initiation from him, and he also, for the same grounds, he denied. So it's the only single instance in our order where he was not actually physically initiated. He got the initiated in vision from Swami Vivekananda. He was a quite great soul. When he was sent to the West. He was in San Francisco. He was considered as second Swami Vivekananda. He had a tremendous oratorical power, and his lectures were highly inspiring. And in those days, those who met Swami Vivekananda, they were still alive. When they came to hear his lectures, they felt as if Swami himself, Vivekananda, again has incarnated through his body. So he was such a great soul. And there's a very nice incident in his life. He was quite old in his advanced age, and because of that wonderful personality and his oratorical powers, many young students from the college used to visit him, the boys, the girls. It was a relationship like a grandfather and the grandchildren. And this such a relationship is very sweet, very informal. So one day these young girls, they said, they were like granddaughter, they loved the Swami so much that they said, casually they remarked, Swamiji, it seems we have fallen in love with you. And immediately Ashokananda's reply was wonderful. He said, it's very good that you love me. But one thing you should know for certain, you can never fall in love with me. You have to rise in love with me. So that was a wonderful thing which we said, which this sutra speaks of, the rising in love. When you are not that Mahatmyam, you never forget the Mahatmya, Tatra apina Mahatmya, Jnanas Vismriti Apavada, as in the 22nd verse it was mentioned. If you forget that, then it is just like an ordinary illicit love. Tat vihinam jaranam eva. So that's the thing which we find has been spoken of here. And this section, the section which speaks of the definition of the Parabhakti, the supreme love, as has been enunciated by the various sages, this section will be concluded by the 24th sutra. What it says? Nasti eva tasmin tat sukha sukhitvam. That this is because in the baser form, that why this is a very nice distinction. You will find a wonderful reflection in this sutra. That in the baser form of love, which are actually we say it love, but it actually is lust. All the so-called baser form of love, which is nothing but lust, there is no idea of being happy in the happiness of the beloved. All this worldly love, if you try to find, if you try to scrutinize what's nature, what we will find? That when I say I love someone, it actually gives me joy. There's a type of selfishness. That there is a joy in loving. I love someone because it gives me happiness. If for some reasons I don't get that happiness, that's why we find all the relation breaks. That it starts with that happiness, and when the happiness is no more there, and I find the relation is now getting affected. It's gradually, the relationship is dwindling. But we find all the human love, that there is a time when you have that intense feeling of love, but it never stays. It gradually, you'll find it diminishes. Why it happens? Because by my expectation that the joy which I get from that love, the moment I find that is diminishing, the love starts diminishing. So that's not the true form of love. That's actually lust. As very nicely in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, very nicely it has been mentioned, Atma Rati Kama, Krishna Rati Prema. In the name of love, what actually we are experiencing is Atma Rati, love for myself. The other person is just a context, by loving whom I feel happy. That's why I love. So that is Atma Rati. It is love for yourself. That is Kama. That is just lust. Krishna Rati Prema. When you develop such a love where your own suffering, your own struggles in life, they are no more important. Just to surrender to the divine has become your way of life. That I am not bothered about mine. That what we say, that we say in a colloquial language, that let your wish be fulfilled. When my wish is fulfilled, then what happens? I feel happy. Similarly, when Lord's wish is fulfilled, Lord feels happy. Maybe because of the Lord's wish, when it gets fulfilled, that may entail in my suffering for some reason or other. I'm not bothered about that. Let your wish be fulfilled. Tomar ichha purna ho. So that is a very important thing, where I am not bothered about my own so-called pleasures and comforts of life. I always accept the fact that it is the Lord who has kept me in a particular situation. Why? He knows best. Let His wish be fulfilled. So I am more bothered about His happiness, His Leela. All this thing is because of His Leela. His way of relating to this phenomenal existence. I don't know why, but it is His wish, it is His love, and I am quite happy with that. Otherwise it becomes just like that jharanam. I'm just self-love. So this is the lust is fundamentally self-centered. It's very self-centered. The focus is on fulfilling one's own desires, one's needs or pleasures. In lust, the other is primarily a means to an end. I want my pleasure, he is just a means. It is just nothing, but it is usually it's a type of gratification. If our relationship is based on lust, we are not concerned with the joy or the welfare of the other person. Our happiness depends solely on receiving. As long as I am happy, well and good. If the moment we find that relationship is not giving me any happiness, the relation starts breaking. It's a very common thing which we see in our life. So true love, by contrast, is other-centered. One finds joy in the happiness and the growth of the beloved. So it's sometimes we can compare it with the mother's life for the child. So there is that the child's pleasure is the mother's pleasure. So it is selfish, unselfish love. So that's the thing which has been spoken of in this last verse. So when we apply this same love to the divine, what it means? When we apply this idea to the spiritual context, the beloved is the divine now. My love, the object of love is the God. Or he is the Brahman, or the ultimate reality. In selfish devotion, what we will do? Some may approach God with lust-like attachment. What is that? They pray, meditate and perform rituals primarily to get something for themselves. It may be peace, I want shanti, peace. Or it may be something gross like wealth, power. Or it may be something as sublime as spiritual experience. But still, it speaks of lust. Why? Because I am wanting something for my own self. So that's why we will find the devotee says, I don't even want liberation. Because that is also a form of lust for a devotee. It is you are seeking something for yourself. What is my desire? My desire is just to remember you and to surrender myself to you so that your wish is fulfilled. I want nothing. So wherever you may keep in my life, whether you give me liberation or you keep me in this world or in some higher planes of existence or in some abject poverty or in some lower planes of existence, I'm not bothered about that. Because I know that as per your wish, everything happens. And I am quite happy that my life should fulfill your wish. So this is the idea of this highest devotion, that even the spiritual practices can become selfish desire if the aim is for personal satisfaction rather than the union with or service of the divine. To serve you, if I just want to serve the divine, nothing else. Even moksha can become selfish. That's what is from the devotional perspective we find. So very high ideal has been spoken of here. So true devotional love or bhakti, in contrast, is a genuine life for the divine. It is selfless and joy-giving. Here the devotee seeks the divine happiness by surrendering to the divine will. Satisfaction comes not from what one gets, but from giving oneself to God or seeing the divine will manifesting or expressing through your life, manifesting through your life. And the best example is the gopis' life for Krishna. They were completely absorbed in Krishna, not seeking anything for themselves. They renounced social norms, personal comforts, even family obligations, as we were saying. Not out of lust, but out of pure longing for union with Krishna and to serve him. Their ecstasy was not about enjoying Krishna's beauty or powers for themselves. It was about participating in Krishna's this divine lila, in his joy, in his divine play. They just wanted to participate in that. So to understand this sutra, let us give an example of a wonderful episode. That this love speaks of very highest form of love, where they are in no way bothered about their own merits or demerits. So that one day, Narada asked Krishna that, who is your greatest devotee? And Krishna said, it is the gopis. The Narada's pride was hurt. He thought he is the greatest devotee. And just to test him, he said something. Well, do you want to know who is the greatest devotee? I will let you know. And one day suddenly Krishna said, Narada, I am having this terrible headache. And Narada asked, what's the way that you can get rid of it? Just let me know. And Krishna says something which even shocks Narada. He says that if you can somehow get the dust of the feet of one of my ardent devotee, you can bring it, and if I can smear that dust on my forehead, I will get rid of the headache. And Narada shudders. Oh, it's an extremely an evil act, Papa, to smear the dust of the devotee's feet on the Lord's head. I cannot think of it. Well, I say, well, you did not give your dust of your feet. I know that you are feeling it is impossible for you. After all, you have such a devotion for me. Just but see, if there is any devotee who agrees to give the dust of their feet. And then Narada goes in search. Everyone hearing that gets shocked. They all deny. At last he reaches Vrindavan and asks these gopis. These simple gopis, they say, oh, this is such a simple cure. And they go on trampling on the dust and says, they take all this handful of dust, heap of dust. They gave it to Narada. Go and give it to your Lord. Then let him put it on her head and let him get cured of his headache. And then Krishna says, this is the greatest devotee. They are not bothered about their own papa or own punya. That the Lord should be happy. He should be beyond all suffering. Now this takes us to the question, can Lord suffer? He is beyond all needs. He is beyond all wants. There cannot be suffering. Suffering speaks of, that I need something, I want something, I don't have. That speaks of suffering. How can Lord suffer? So actually there is no suffering for the Lord. But a devotee, but Sri Ramakrishna gives a very nice way he puts it. What he says? But when you grow in devotion, then what happens? A time comes that Lord is always great. He is beyond want. But a devotee thinks that this Lord needs his protection. Just like, in the life of Rama. Is every time we will find that whenever he is in crisis, in his incarnation as Rama, as if Hanuman is there to protect him. That's why he was called Sankata Mochana. What's the idea? Actually, Lord has graced Hanuman by giving him that favor. He himself can go beyond all such crises. But to fulfill the desire of the devotee to serve him, he himself has given that opportunity. So that's the idea we should have. The Lord gives us the opportunity to serve him in devotion. He is the greatest, but he likes to become something small so that we can get the joy by serving him. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say a very nice way that in the initial stage of devotion, God is the magnet and the devotee is just like an iron filing. And as the devotion grows, the devotee becomes the magnet and the God becomes the iron filing. He is as if drawn. He likes to become small, to just as if surrender himself to the love of the divine, and that is his pleasure. So this is a wonderful thing. There's a nice story in the gospel which enumerates this idea that 3 friends were passing through the forest and suddenly they saw a tiger just in their front. One of them shouted, "Oh, we are gone, we are dead, we will be dead in no moment. The tiger is here." And listening to that, the other said, "Why don't be so scared? God is there to save us. Let us pray to him." And the third said, "Why to disturb God? Let us climb the tree and save ourselves." This is what Sri Ramakrishna says. And then what he says? The one who said, "Oh, we are dead," he is Ajnani. He doesn't know God is there to protect us, to protect his own creation. The one who said, "Let us pray," he is Jnani. He is aware of the existence of the divine. He is Jnani. But the one who said, "Why to disturb him? Let's climb the tree." Why to just unnecessarily disturb him? As long as we have the capacity, why not? We simply save ourselves. Why to disturb him? He is a bhakta. He is more bothered about the Lord's happiness. He doesn't want to disturb him. So this is the wonderful subtle idea that has been spoken of in this verse. So where the selfishness has totally fallen off. I don't think of my petty selfishness. It is a pleasure for the Lord. For that only I do whatever I do. So there is a very nice story. Once Holy Mother came to Belur Math and he saw that the young brahmacharis, they were peeling the vegetables. Seeing that, Holy Mother was very happy. Because generally it is the woman, the girls, who will be doing all those work in the kitchen in those days. The men never used to share those works. Now seeing these brahmacharis peeling vegetables, Mother was really happy. Bah, ki shundor kutno kutche. Chelera. These boys are peeling the vegetable. Seeing Mother happy, one Swami, he was a brahmachari in those days, but later he was a illumined soul in his own right, Swami Jagadananda, Mother's disciple. He commented a wonderful thing. After all, our aim is to make the Mother happy. And then, whether it is by japa or by meditation or by peeling vegetable, to make the Mother happy is the goal. Just jop korei hok, dhyan korei hok, kutno kutei hok, maa ke khushi kora. So this is the goal, that to make the divine happy. So whatever I'm doing it for his pleasure, as an offering to him. So there, all the selfishness has fallen off. So this is the idea. So if you find this lesson from the true bhakti, it is self-transcending love, where the lust is based on the focus on what I get. It's the ego binds the heart. It gives very limited joy. But the true love, the focus is the beloved's joy. And then the ego dissolves. It gives infinite bliss. So in bhakti, the love is like the mirror reflecting the divine joy. You become like a mirror which is reflecting the divine joy. The devotee's happiness arises because of the beloved's happiness is fulfilled. So that's a wonderful idea. So with this sutra, this section, the section where the various definitions of love has been enumerated to have an idea of what that Parabhakti is, that comes to the conclusion. From the next class, we will go to the next section, which starts from the 25th verse. We will take up again in the next class. So with this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskar. So this next section will be speaking of the superiority of, as it is a bhakti, this is a scripture of bhakti. This is Narada Bhakti Sutra. This is aphorisms of bhakti. The superiority of bhakti compared to jnana and compared to meditation. So all the other paths, compared to that, bhakti is superior. That's the section which we will be starting. We start from the 25th verse, 25th sutra, which we will take up again in the next class. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskars.